Okay, everyone, we're back live here with the Between the Pages book chat with fantasy author Joanna White, and we're going to be talking about her series, the Valiant Series, and I'll turn it over to her, and she can introduce herself. So take it away.
Hi, I'm Joanna White. I'm a Christian author and a major fangirl of a lot of different stuff, but my books, Hunter and Shifter, are books 1 and 2 of the Valiant series, and they're available on Amazon or pretty much anywhere books are sold. And it's my debut series, so Hunter was my first book that I published, and it's published by Ambassador International. So I write a lot of fantasy. I have a few self-published books on top of those, but we're here to talk about the Valiant series. I spent 7 years writing the whole series, so all 17 books of it's actually done and finished writing, but publishing it takes a while too, so we're only on the first 2. But that's basically me.
Did you say 17?
17, yeah, 5 prequels, and there are 5 prequels, and then the rest are the main series. So
okay, that's impressive. I gotta say, very impressive.
I spent 7 years working on it. So needless to say, when I was finished writing it, I did not know what to do with my life. I was kind of lost there for a while.
Okay, so why don't you give everyone an overview of the series?
Well, the Valiant series as a whole is basically corruption is spreading throughout the galaxy. It's corrupting one world after another, doing a bunch of terrible things to it. And the father has sent Raiden. He's going around trying to find these heroes called Chosen to help stop the spread of corruption and save the galaxy, essentially. So the books, all the earlier books of the Valiant series, including Hunter and Shifter, take place on different worlds with different characters. And Hunter basically is about this government called the Tool. They arrest men and boys throughout the entire world, and they throw them in this outdoor prison called Zagara. And in Zagara, the prisoners are hunted down by these genetically enhanced assassins called Hunters. And this one girl, her brother is taken, but he's really sick, and she wants to go save him. So she disguises herself as a man and gets thrown in Zagara to go save him. But she wasn't expecting the Hunters, and it's a lot of survival and running from the Hunters and everything. But as the series progresses, you learn that the Hunters were corrupted, and this is just one example of what corruption is doing to try to take these worlds. And then Raiden comes and he tries to bring in the Chosen, and it eventually ends with this whole world of the galaxy. And in Shifter, the corruption has spread and corrupted a dragon, and he's killing humans, slaughtering them, just killing villages and everything. And so we go 2 different perspectives in that one, where one of them is a dragon in his clan, and he doesn't believe that what they're doing is right. So he turns against them and tries to raise the other Shifter clans to try to, fight them and stop them from killing humans. And then the other perspective is a girl who's a human. Her family was slaughtered in one of the attacks. So it gets to be pretty exciting. Each of the earlier Valiant books are all different worlds with different conflicts going on. And then as the series progresses, you eventually learn how it's all connected. So.
Oh, sounds very cool.
Thank you.
So what are your inspirations for the series?
Honestly, it's kind of funny because it depended on which book I was doing, because like I said, they're all different. So like the inspiration behind Hunter was a mixture of Mulan, the disguising yourself as a man to save your family member, combined with the Hunger Games, the outdoor arena, killing each other, that sort of thing. So the inspiration for each book was different. With Shifter, the inspiration was kind of just an informal, I wanted to do shapeshifters, but I didn't want to do werewolves because that was like a cliche idea at the time I was writing it. So I decided dragons, and why not? Let's do shapeshifter dragons. And so it depended on the book, because like the other book, Samurai, that's coming out here next year, the inspiration behind it was a historical event that happened in the 1800s in Japan, feudal Japan. So the samurai, that's where it came from. And so it just depended per book, because each one is so different. Like each one's almost in a different subgenre. There's one that's like more of an urban fantasy. Of course, samurai is more medieval fantasy. Hunter and Shifter were more like just epic fantasy. So it really just depended on the book.
Yeah. So you get a little something for everybody then.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. So, what about the setting? Like you say, they're set on different worlds, but is there anything in common with the worlds? Is this galaxy stuff like that?
It's actually a galaxy. I didn't actually build the galaxy itself until the last few books, when the war for the galaxy started, because I had to know where they were and which fights were taking place where and stuff. But essentially, like every book in the first part of it is just taking place on different worlds and stuff. And you don't know how they're connected until you get to like the last 3 books of the series. And then you find out that each world is connected through a portal line, but so you kind of get an order for how the galaxy is put together. But I actually made an actual map. It's actually right over here on my wall, with where the different worlds are located. So I knew galaxy wise, like where the planets are and stuff like that. So that's really what they have in common is the portals.
Yeah, maps are good and maps are fun.
Yes.
Okay, so each book has a different main character, of course. Do they have something in common? Do you have like character traits in common?
Well, anybody who knows me knows I love a male character with a tragic backstory. So I'm a sucker for tragic backstories, especially with guy characters. I write guy characters better. I prefer them, but I mean, there are a lot of girl characters too, don't get me wrong. But I personally prefer guy characters with really tragic backstories that we can all get feels for. You know, I'm a fangirl too. So, but they're all kind of unique and different. There is a theme kind of that you'll get with a few different characters of guys who basically start off kind of more antagonistic. In Hunter, one of the main characters is one of the hunters. Killing is all he's ever known. He just goes around killing prisoners until this new one, which we know as Avarella, disguised as a man, when, you know, this new prisoner shows up and he can read everybody's mind, the hunter can, but he can't read hers, but he thinks that she's a man. And so he's trying to like find out why he can't read her mind and everything, doesn't know that she's actually a woman. And so he's basically one of the main antagonists in the whole book. And there's an element there of different guys who are more antagonistic than others. And I guess that's kind of not really, it's a common theme, I guess, but their circumstances are all pretty unique and different. So,
yeah. So with the female character whose mind can't be read, is that just for her, or is it that the hunters can't read any of women's minds?
Honestly, we never really, he doesn't figure this out until later, but he can read other people's minds. It's just her. And later in the series, you find out why. The readers, you have to really look to find out why, because it's not explicitly stated this is why, but there are circumstances that happen later that bring that back into play. Of course, this is after 15 other books. So you kind of have to remember Hunter a little bit, but the last few books in the series kind of tie everything back together, and that's one of those is the reason why he can't read her mind versus everybody else's. So it's just a her thing.
Okay, so you mentioned you have like a character that sort of goes through all the series, Raiden, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's he like?
He is basically my parallel with Jesus. So the father is kind of like God. He parallels with God, and Raiden is like Jesus. So he's been sent to find kind of like the disciples, but they're called chosen to save the galaxy. So everybody who sees him, he's got a timeless kind of air about him. He's very compassionate, very kind, and he's like this light in the darkness. Like you see him in Hunter and he makes an appearance a little bit, and it's just like this overwhelming peace when you're around him versus like this. I mean, this is a prison where guys are getting slaughtered right and left all the time. And there's death and there's a lot of, it's terrible. And the people that are oppressed. But when he shows up, it's like this light and peace that shouldn't be in a place this dark, you know, like he just, it doesn't belong there. But at the same time, it's just like this peace. And he kind of brings that to everywhere that he goes with all the different, you know, because there's a lot of different stories. And some of the chosen, it's, you know, take to it immediately. Others don't. And that creates an interesting conflict because every character is different. And you get other characters who are more accepting of him. And then you get other characters who are not accepting of him. So it's an interesting element to add to the story, but it's kind of, I feel that it's comforting for the readers because reading books that take place on different worlds of different characters, if you get attached to like the characters in Hunter, you're reading Shifter and you're like, you know, where are the characters? Where are they? You know, I missed them. But seeing Raiden repeatedly kind of connects the whole story as well as bringing readers a sense of comfort as they go through the series that this is still going to connect, you know, and that we will get our characters again.
Yeah. Okay. So what was the hardest scene for you to write in the series?
I would say it's a tie between, it's definitely in the last 2 books. So I got pretty much a tie between 3 different parts. One of them in the last book of the series, the last scene, is paralleled with Jesus's crucifixion. I'm not going to give spoilers for the book, obviously, but if you know the story, you can pretty much guess where that's going. It wasn't hard, but it was hard for me because I'm a Christian, so that's a very important part of my beliefs. And I didn't want to write it, and I didn't know if it was okay for me to parallel that or if it was too sacred to even touch in a book. And I wanted to make sure that I got the elements across right, but still making it fantasy to where if you're, not a Christian and you're reading it, you're not going to get it. It's like Lord of the Rings. You're just going to watch the movie or read the book and enjoy it without realizing what you're doing. But the Christians can see the parallels. And it was hard to figure out, okay, how much can I change and how much should I leave there? That sort of thing. But other than that, the last book in the series, the entire book, the final book was a doozy. It's paralleled with the book of Revelation in the Bible. And if you don't know that, Revelation is a really hard book to understand. It's got a lot of symbolism and it's complicated and it's difficult. And so trying to parallel that in fantasy was a lot of fun, but it was very complicated. And I had a lot of fun with it, but ending it, I'd been working on this for 7 years of my life, and I didn't want it to be over. I love these characters. I didn't want to write anything but these characters. So how could I end it, and ending it in a way that did everything justice, tying up all the loose ends from all 17 books, making sure that every plot point was wrapped up, making sure that I gave an ending that the readers would feel did it justice, and doing my own characters justice and still ending in a way that I would feel proud of it. It was really, really hard. And trying to write new books after that was even harder for me because I just been in these books and these characters for 7 years of my life. That's a huge part of my life. So it was really hard on that part.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm having trouble just doing it with 4 books, let alone 17.
That's funny.
So, what was your favorite scene to write?
Well, I really love the last 3 books because the action really picks up and you get the war with the galaxy. So I love a lot of the action scenes. I've written some epic battle scenes that last for a while, not for too long, but I mean, you get some epic, you're fighting, corruption for the entire galaxy. The galaxy's at stake here. So some of the epic battles, the final battles and stuff like that get really, really epic. I kind of love personally some of the what I call ship scenes, which is where the romance between the characters, in the second to last book, there's a bit of time in that book because the whole plot moves so fast from one book to another, and you're just moving from one conflict to another, and then they all get thrown together, the chosen do, and then they're fighting, and then you're just like, what? And then more conflict happens. So the second to last book in the series, I needed the majority, half the book, the beginning of the book, just to relax and give us some breathing room and let the characters spend time together. And there's a lot of different ship moments in that and different romances going on. And I just feel like that's really nice and refreshing and it's kind of cool. And I'm a sucker for a good romance story. So there are romantic elements in it too. But some of those were my favorites as well. But my favorite book in the whole series, other than the last 2, is Samurai. So basically any scene from that, I absolutely love it. And it's coming out next year, so I can't wait. It's my favorite book in the series. So basically you can take any scene from that and it's my favorite. So.
Yeah. So you said there's romance in the book. So what do you prefer writing, romance scenes or action scenes?
Ugh. That's hard. Nowadays, I don't know. I couldn't answer that question. I love writing action scenes, but I think 17 books full of a major war, and I kind of got tired of it, I guess. Not really tired because I love a good action scene, but these days I'm writing more romance, and I don't know if it's because I got married and I'm more romantic now or what, but I don't know. I do love a good romance, and anymore I write more romantic scenes, and action scenes are sometimes a struggle. I guess when you have so many different action scenes, it's like, okay, how do I make this different? How do I not make this like the same action scene I wrote in that series? And it's difficult, but I still do it. And since then, in one of my other books in a completely different series, I wrote an action scene that lasted for about 200 pages because it was a planetary siege and it was detailed. And so, I mean, I can still pull it off. It's just, I guess, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to write romance. But I don't know if it's because I'm more romantic now or what. But either one, it works for me. It depends. I have to set up the action scene really well and know, okay, what's going on. And sometimes I'll have to work with my husband and we'll act it out because, the martial arts side of it gets complicated at times. And you can't just keep it all visually in your head. Sometimes I have to punch the air or figure out where they're moving and ducking and stuff to figure things out. So
yeah, I've been there. So is there any character in your series that you'd like to hang out with in real life?
I would love to, but at the same time, if I ever got to hang out with them, they would probably kill me because I am kind of a mean author to them. And I've heard from a lot of different readers that I am kind of evil and I'm not very nice when it comes to my characters. I love them, but they probably wouldn't know that. So any one of them, it wouldn't be deadly to me. It would be nice, but no, probably Jared, honestly, from Hunter, or Shinji from Samurai. Samurai is my favorite book, so Jared and Shinji are two of my favorite characters. I do have other favorites, but those are probably the top two. Although they would definitely kill me. I mean, Jared, he's a hunter, so there's no doubt about it. I would die, but it would be nice to get to hang out with them. And, on the other hand, having Jared read my mind would be kind of weird and interesting, I guess. But, it'd just be interesting to hang out with some of them. Raiden, probably, if I had a choice, though. If I had to choose only one, I mean, Raiden would be awesome to hang out with because he wouldn't kill me. So,
yeah, I can relate. My characters don't like me either. Yeah, I'm too mean to them.
Yes, I think that's an author thing.
Yeah, well, a lot of them are dead, so...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of my problem, No spoilers or anything, but seriously.
Yeah, well, all my readers know that if they read my books, people are going to die.
Yeah, it's a thing. They called me the Kraken because I would take ships and basically just crash them and all that stuff. So my readers kept calling me the Kraken, and I guess it kind of stuck. But I have a really bad habit of killing characters.
Yes. Well, Drowned Sailors is actually a plot point in one of my books, so...
Oh, wow. That's nice. I've got sirens in mine, so Hunter.
Okay, so now I've lost my place. Okay, just hang on a minute. Okay. Do your characters have any hobbies?
They have any what? I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there for a second.
Hobbies. Do they have
hobbies? Depending on your definition of hobby, some of them don't really have worlds that allow them time for hobbies, I guess. It's more based on survival. Like in Hunter, Avarella, she works around her house and everything. Her mom has depression because their dad was taken. We don't know if he was taken, but he's gone. He's dead somehow. And so her mom and Gabriel's sick, so her brother can't do a lot. He has to stay inside the house. And so she's the one going out and hunting, which, is hard and difficult. She's, weeding the garden. She's taking care of her brother. She's cleaning around the house. She's cooking, she's doing all this household stuff because her mom's too depressed to do it. And so she doesn't really, I guess, if you consider household chores a hobby, And Jared, of course, doesn't have a hobby unless you consider killing a hobby, I guess. That makes him sound like a serial killer, but I guess he is. Because the hunters, killing is all they know. They were created in a laboratory, and it's all he remembers. So he spent the past 9 years of his life killing prisoners in Zagara, and that's all he's ever known. He doesn't know anything else. And so he doesn't understand what human emotions are like. He doesn't really know what a hobby is. I mean, he loves his sword. And so, the fighting and the train, they don't really need to train though because they're genetically enhanced. So in Shifter, Barone, he's a dragon shapeshifter. He prefers his dragon form to his human form, and he loves to fly. It gets him away from the world, and he's able to look at it from a distance, and it kind of reminds him of God's creation and how beautiful it is. And he really just enjoys flying. So that's one of his hobbies. So
okay. So you write in the fantasy genre. Are there any other genres that you'd like to try or that you currently write in?
Yeah, currently I'm actually working on what's called the 1,000,000 Word Challenge, which is where you write 1,000,000 words in a year. And so I'm writing 4,000 words every day. I outlined 20 stories back in November. So I'm working on getting through that list of 20 books, basically, to hit the 1,000,000 Word Challenge. So I actually branched off into other genres. Last year in 2019, I actually started writing a biblical fiction. It was supposed to be historical romance, but it got set in a biblical time period just because that's how the story worked. And so I ended up, it was like a biblical fiction romance. And so that's the first I've written of those, but I'm kind of still working on that series a little bit. I've written more contemporary romance. I started writing when I was 10. So from 10 to about when I turned this into a career and started Hunter and the Valiant series, I wrote contemporary, just random stuff. So fantasy was a new genre for me, but that's the one that stuck with me. So I do write more fantasy, but I'm also going to write like an action book thriller to try it out this year. So there are other genres that I branched out to. I would love to write a good mystery though. I'm terrible at putting a mystery together. So I can't do mystery, but that would be, if I ever hypothetically could write in a genre, I would love to try mystery, because I love like Criminal Minds and different shows like that, but can't write it very well. So
yeah, I'm with you. I love mystery too, and I tried writing it, and I'm not very good
yeah,
at it.
it doesn't work. It's
Yeah,
complicated.
yeah. I think you got to have a specific kind of mindset to get the mysteries done.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, so what have you got coming up next? Coming up next.
Well, this month is actually Hunter's anniversary month, so it came out a year ago on April 30th, and so I actually wrote a collection of short stories that take place in Hunter. So every single character that you see in Hunter, all the side characters have a story, and this collection of stories is basically them. Every single Hunter gets their own story. Who were they before they were Hunters? Were they anything before they were Hunters? You know, those questions are kind of answered. It's called Rebels. The cover reveal was today, so I posted the cover and the pre-order link everywhere. It's on pre-order for 99 cents. It's going to be out April 30th, which is Hunter's anniversary. And it's just kind of an enhancement to the story of Hunter. But it's, if you love reading more of a short story collection, it's, a better fit for that. And so that's the next thing. And other than that, I've got a book coming out in August called The Crystal Heist. It's just a standalone fantasy, unconnected with anything. So that's basically the only books I've got published this year, because I'm more focused on writing this year. But
okay, so we're going to wrap it up here, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay, and that's it for this edition of Between the Pages Book Chat. And we'll be back on Sunday with fantasy author Jeff Bacon. And so we'll see you then. Bye.